Hey folks, Matt here with HuntScore, and today we're going to talk Wyoming Draw. We're going to work on filling out our Wyoming resident application, and to do that, we're going to, from the home page, select Wyoming, going to select elk. Now, if you're going to do, the big five, you're going to do sheep or goat or moose, then it's a little bit different because you have a preference point system. But for elk, antelope, and deer, if you're a resident, it's draw, random draw. Unlike the non-residents where it's actually preference points. In any case, we're going to select the explore draws here so that we can actually look at draw data from last year and figure out where our best odds are. First thing you're going to see is map's going to load up with all of the units for, in this case, elk hunting. You might see some units that aren't filled in. That's going to be because there weren't actually tags issued in those units. Down below, you've got a nice table laying out all of your draw options from 2021. Now, it is possible that a state could add some new tags that year, and you might want to, in that case, reference the regulations to see if anything new has been added. Typically, they'll call that out in the beginning in the notes. In this case, as a resident, I think, for a first choice option, we're going to want to select probably antler elk that we're going to go after. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that filter. And one of the things that you're going to notice is that the map up above will actually update to filter down to just the units that offer antler or any elk take. If you're not familiar with the Wyoming draw, you're going to want to go ahead and head over to the blog and check out our Wyoming draw article. There we walk through the entire process of, the difference between resident and non-resident options, how the random draw works versus preference points, all that good stuff, quotas, you name it. Okay, so now that we've got our season selected, let's go ahead and check out what fields we have available here. Now you're going to see some initial fields that really just kind of relate to the actual hunt code or draw code. Just depends on the state and what it's called. In this case, these are the codes that you would actually apply for as a resident or non-resident in Wyoming. The fields here, you can see we've got dates and sex and type and all that good stuff. Our HuntScore and freezer score, read about the methodology if you're not familiar with that. And then you'll see here, add or remove fields, a whole list of other fields you can add. Now, we've got some good fields that you're probably going to want to filter on, like access, opportunity, success, pressure, terrain. Those are all described in our HuntScore methodology. Again, check that out on the blog. But for right now, since we're filling out our actual application, we're going to want to look at first choice draw odds, second choice, and third choice so that we can actually fill out our entire draw. Okay, here we go. So as a first choice resident, we've already said we're going to go after antlered or any elk. And, we probably want to have, let's say, a decent chance of drawing. So let's select any of those that have a 40% or greater chance of drawing. Super easy to apply the filter, immediately updates, and you can see any of the hunt codes that have that 40% or greater odds and also allow you to take any elk, basically. Now, access can be an issue. You can see the access score here. Some of these units have not necessarily a ton of access. So, and access in this case is public land. So we might want to apply, let's say, a filter to access where we want 50% or greater public land in the unit. Great. We can see we've limited down our options. We started off with the whole state. Now we've got, let's say, 10, 15 units that are still left. And one of the other things that we might say we want to filter on is terrain. We don't want to have the hardest hunt. We're looking for, a reasonable hunt. We don't want to be going up and down 30, 40 degree slopes. And we'd like to maybe not bust a lung out there. So the way that the terrain score works is units that have, very steep terrain based off of access from a road, they're going to have a very low score. So their terrain scores are going to be, typically below, let's say 70, 50, 40, somewhere around in there. Units that tend to be flat or flatter have less slope that you're going to have to be hiking up and down. They're going to have higher scores, above 70, 80, 90%. Those are going to be relatively flat units. So let's say we're going to filter 70% or more. And great, we can see we've got rid of a couple more. If you want to test the accuracy of our scores, let's just remove this filter and see what units are back on. You can easily see these tend to be pretty mountainous units. So it makes sense that we would get rid of those units. Now, of course, you're going to have some units that are, like in this case, cover a little bit of a mountain range, but a lot of the unit tends to be pretty flat, or at least, could be in those rolling hills, let's say, at the approach to the mountain range. So great, from there, we can see the units that are left over. And if you wanted to deep dive into either a unit or any of these individual hunt codes, you could just click on these hyperlinked units or the individual hunt codes, and you could actually see more detail information about the unit or that hunt code. In this case, let's check 47 just for shits and giggles. So there we go, 47. I'm gonna head on over to that page, and as it loads up here, you're going to see this Copper Mountain unit. Data that we were able to collect from the state websites about management objectives, that type of stuff. We're going to have details on that. You can play with the map layers. Obviously, we've got a whole bunch of map layers here. If you want to check out and see just how nasty the unit is, you can add this slope percentage, and you can actually see all of this stuff where you don't see the purple highlighted. This is going to be pretty flat stuff, but wherever it is pretty steep, you'll be able to see it's all highlighted. So that's cool, little layer to apply. Great, let's go down to the draws here, and if we check out the draws, we could jump into 47.1 and actually start to get those draw details. So if you wanted to check out how have odds been trending in that unit for residents and non-residents, you can look at that over time. You can see the resident draw odds, basically 100% draw. So really shouldn't have any issues there, and it's been that way for a while. We might look at the quotas to see if the quotas have been changing. Okay, little concern there potentially. We can see that the quota was substantially reduced going into 2018, and it looks like it's continued to drop and become less and less of a quota. So that could be a concern as we apply in 2022. You can also look at the number of licenses drawn here for both residents and non-residents. Now this would be total licenses drawn across all of the different choices. So first choice, second choice, third choice. But then we also have the first choice applied down here. So you can see there's 84 applicants last year with over 90 licenses available. So we are pretty close to that threshold. You might be a little concerned that if applicant pressure gets a little greater, it's not necessarily a certain draw this year. So could be some concern there. It still is going to be pretty good odds though. So that's a great example of how to fill out your first choice. Now, what about your second and third choice? The thing that you have to realize is every year there are thousands of people who fill their draws out incorrectly or their applications out incorrectly. They will select for their second and third choices, hunt codes or draw codes that have zero chance of drawing. Listen, if this first choice draw odds is not 100%, you cannot draw it as your second or third choice. If it's anything less than 100, that means all of the available tags are taken up in the first choice. So nothing goes to the second or third choice rounds. So you're going to have to either, apply a minimum of 100, in which case you will see these second and third choice options. And remember, we've got our other filters applied here. So, now we've filtered down to just those tags that not only there are going to be second or third choice options available, but they also fit our axis and terrain criteria, as well as the fact that we should be able to hunt either sex. Of course, in Wyoming, you can, as a resident, you can always get a general tag, which allow you to hunt a whole bunch of different units. But, good option here, quick way to filter down to those second and third choice options as well. So you can see, second choice here are draws across. Looks like there's only about five tags available, and third choice as well. Great. So from there, you could select any of those choices, or we could come back here and say, I'm okay taking, let's say, a cow elk for my second or third choice options. In which case, go ahead and just pull off that season filter. And you could apply, doe fawn cow calf filter as well. And now you're going to see a lot more units open up. So another quick way to filter down to those different options as we get into our second and third choice applications, or second and third choices on our applications. Um, Hopefully that helps. Here's an example as a Wyoming resident how you can quickly use HuntScore to fill out your application this season. Good luck.